All right, folks. Gilroy Garlic Festival. Terrible tragedy. Terrible tragedy. 3 people dead, 12 people injured. And let's blame guns again. Let's do that instead of blaming the individual's problems. Let's take away the rights of Americans. Our Second Amendment right to carry firearms, and just go ahead and blame it on the inanimate object instead of the issue at hand. The issue at hand, folks, is this. We don't have enough time to train our children to be responsible adults. You didn't hear about mass shootings, 20, 30 years ago. You didn't hear about it. And what's happening is nowadays, today, in today's society, we don't have time to sit down and ask our kids, how's your day going? Are you having issues? How can we deal with this? How can we make it better? We don't have time for that. And that's a sad thing, folks. It's really a sad thing. So the Democrats now are also trying to say this kid's a white supremacist and all this stuff. Look, folks, he was an Italian and an Iranian. He was not a white kid, number one. Okay, if he read something from the 1890s, and that gave him a boost to go gun down a bunch of people, that's pretty sad, folks. I don't know. I'm looking at it like this. There's an old saying that goes, it takes a village to raise a child. And, nobody wants to assist anybody anymore. Everybody wants to, there's times that you don't even know who your neighbor is, for years. You don't even know who they are. You don't make friends. Nobody makes friends with people. You don't, you're spending too much time at work and stuff like that. That's sad for society. It's how we got to survive. I understand that. But what we need to do is start finding a way to pay more attention to the little sponges, our children, who follow life as they look at us. They look at us as an example. Okay? And if all you're doing is you're putting them in front of violent video games, and all you're doing is putting them in front of violent movies as a pacifier because you don't have time to deal with them, then don't blame an inanimate object like a gun. It's that simple. It's because we're not spending enough time in teaching them the proper way to be adults and to handle situations that they get themselves into. And kids do get themselves into situations, folks. It's just how it is. And we need to start sitting back and just, teaching our children, that's not the proper way to do things. We don't teach, when my mom was in school, what they taught in school when my mother was in school? Gun safety. Yeah, gun safety in school. They don't even bring Jesus into the schools no more. There's no more faith and religion. There's no more, nothing to sit back and say, hey, be respectful, because we're not even allowed to discipline our children anymore. And that's what's pretty sad, folks. That's pretty sad. So these kids run around being little assholes. They respect gangbangers and stuff like that. They play violent video games. They watch violent movies. The parents are working so hard trying to give them a good life, which they do try to do, but they don't have time to sit down and really understand their kids. And there's where the problem lies. This kid was 19. The other school shooter, what was that kid a year or so back? You shot up a school as well. A lot of these are kids. They're only, 18, 19 years old. They're just becoming adults. And then here's what the parents tell them. Once you're 18, you're out of the house. Well, how are they at 18 years old understanding, just because they turn a number, because they turn 18, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden they understand bills, they understand budgeting, they understand getting insurance, they understand, work ethic at 18 years old. Come on, folks. We got to start teaching them. We got to start teaching our kids. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If you want to sit there and blame an inanimate object like a gun, I've had several guns. I've had shotguns. I've had pistols, and I've had several machine guns. And never once did it stand up and start firing itself. It always took a person to squeeze the trigger. It's that simple, folks. It always takes that. So until we can sit back and show our kids the proper way to be an adult, they're just going to continue on with this violence. And that's how it is. It has nothing to do with gun sales. It has nothing to do with carrying knives or hammers or any of that stuff, folks. It has to do with teaching them the right way. It's that simple. And I'm sorry that America is the way it is. It's so expensive that we don't really have time to do it. Some of us got to work two jobs, and sometimes both parents have to work 2 jobs. But, it doesn't matter if you're working those jobs and paying the bills if you're not teaching the child the proper way to live and to deal with situations that they get themselves into. Then what's the point? you know? So here's what I'm going to say. Kind of cut back a little bit, folks. Cut back a little bit. Take time. Your kid would rather spend time with you, and go out fishing with you or hunting or just sitting there talking. Believe me, they would rather do that. And the children would rather even be disciplined than to be ignored. So, like I said, the Garlic shooting, folks, that was terrible tragedy. Terrible. But don't let these politicians turn this into something it's not, folks. Don't let them turn it into a white supremacist thing or a gun rights thing or any of that, gun control thing. None of that, because that ain't what it was about. What it was about was a very simple thing. This kid had issues, and they weren't dealt with, and this is how it came out. So start taking the time with your kids, folks. We need to do that. So, like I said, it was a terrible tragedy. Hope it never happens again. So sit on back, folks, and when you get home tonight, take a look at your kids. Say, you know what? How's your day going? You have any issues? Let's talk about it. How's your life going? And you know how kids are. They're going to be like, I'm doing all right, whatever. Well, you're the parent. Start digging deeper into it. Well, what happened at school today? Just keep digging. Keep digging until you find out there is no problem or there is a problem. Either one. Being bullied, not knowing how to deal with it. Take your son out in the backyard with some boxing gloves. Show him how to throw his hands a little bit. Show him how to be a man. How about that? Take him fishing. Show him how to bait a hook. And believe me, folks, it's going to come out way better than you think. It's Tony Doles. Tony Doles told you. I'd never tell you wrong. Remember that. Have a good day.